I have Pastor Mark Pluimer with us this week. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Zach.
Thanks for coming on. Would you mind giving a brief introduction of yourself, how you ended up in Classis, Wisconsin, and then we'll get into the normal format here?
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. So my name is Mark Pluimer. I'm the pastor at Covenant Christian Reformed Church in Appleton, and I came to Classis, Wisconsin, right out of seminary, actually. So way back in 2003, I graduated from seminary and started in an associate pastor role at Brookfield Christian Reformed Church. And so that was my first church out of seminary, my first experience, and I was there for 3 years. And then in 2006, I came up here to Appleton, and I've been here, so I guess for 15 years now. And I've been in classes for 18 years altogether, and been at this church for 15. And it's hard to believe it's been that long, but but yeah, it's been good. And I had really no experience with Wisconsin before that. My family, my wife's family, all grew up in Minnesota. I was born in Iowa, but then spent from age 3 all through high school in Minnesota. My wife's family is in Minnesota, so that was kind of our experience. And then Michigan, of course, with college and seminary. Was at Dordt for a little while as well, and so kind of all around, but never in Wisconsin. And been really happy to be here, and really happy to call this home. So it's been good.
So only Classis, Wisconsin, that's your only Classis experience, your whole ministry career?
Yeah, outside of my internship, so when did my year internship, I was in, I can't even remember what the class is called now. Classis Minnesota, I guess, is the
Oh,
one
yeah,
in
yeah.
Minnesota. So I had a little bit of experience with that classes when I was during that year of my internship. But aside from that, yeah, it's been all Classis Wisconsin. So
Very
yeah.
nice. Well, we appreciate your work and your contribution to the Classis, of course. The regular format here on Classis Wisconsin Weekly is then we ask, what are you working on this week? What we're getting at is, what are you preparing to preach? It's always preface it by saying Tuesdays is kind of a tough time to have that conversation. It's early in the week, but where have you been at Covenant, and what text are you in this week?
Yeah, that's appreciate the question. We've been working our way through the book of Philippians, and just kind of a somewhat of a slow pace, I guess, expository preaching, and just making our way straight through the text. And we this week we're in beginning chapter 4, so probably chapter 4 verses 1 through 3. I haven't, fully decided if I'll expand the text a little bit, but I'm thinking probably verses 1 through 3. In verse 4, Paul begins kind of a new command and a little bit of a new section. So verses 1 through 3 really kind of wraps up, or summarizes, brings to conclusion the bulk of the main hortatory exhortation section, and kind of reviews some of the themes he's been talking about throughout the letter. That's where we're at, and I've been enjoying the series. It's been good to be in Paul's letters. I hadn't preached through a letter for quite some time. I think I was in the Gospels. I did the Gospel of Luke. That was a long series. I did some of the minor prophets, and then I did more recently, just before we started Philippians, I preached through the book of Daniel. So we had, kind of the first half of the book was narrative, and really engaged in the stories of Daniel, and then diving into the really interpretively, hermeneutically challenging apocalyptic portion of Daniel in the second half of the book. But it was the most challenging series I've ever done, but it was also very rewarding, and I think very timely. So I enjoyed that a lot. But it's been a little bit refreshing, I guess, to be in the a little more, I guess, a little less hermeneutically challenging, more straightforward of Paul's letter to the Philippians. So I've enjoyed lingering there for the last couple of months.
So how long? I mean, you're talking 3 verses here on Sunday, 1 through 3. How long has this series in Philippians been going on?
I'm not even sure.
A
I
while.
think, yeah, it's been a while. I mean, and I mean, 3 verses is a little shorter than usual,
Sure.
probably. So, but not that much shorter. Some texts are a little bit longer than others, but it's been I mean, it's not a real long letter. I think when so I don't know if it's like 20 sermons or 20 plus, something like that.
Mm.
I would imagine at least. Yeah.
And what are some of the main themes you feel like you keep drawing out for yourself and for Covenant?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that drew me to the letter of Philippians too, are the themes that I think were really that really dominant in Paul's letter to the Philippians. So themes of unity, that kind of comes up again and again. The theme of, people have called it Paul's joyful letter, which is a little bit misleading because I mean, he does emphasize joy probably more than any other letter, but it's not like it's only joyful. There's also really difficult things he deals with in the letter. But that theme of joy and rejoicing in the Lord definitely comes through in the letter. Perseverance, standing firm, enduring in the face of opposition. That's another pretty strong theme in the letter in the context of the Philippians enduring persecution and opposition and hostility, and so how to live as followers of Christ in the midst of that context. Our citizenship being in heaven, all of that is being in the world but not of the world. I mean, those are some of the themes that kind of keep coming through again and again, and holding firmly to the word of life in the midst of it, so we can shine like stars in the midst of a pagan and warped and crooked generation, a world that's darkened by unbelief. So I just find those are things that I think are so timely and so relevant for us as Christians in the world today, and so it's been I think very very relevant to kind of keep kind of circling around those themes again and again. And I mean, we need in our certainly in our church, but I think it's true of churches across the board. And in our culture, we need unity. We need to be there's so many things that are polarizing and potentially divisive and difficult, and differences of opinion on so many different things. And so to find our oneness in Christ and our unity in the Lord, I think is a huge theme right now, and a huge need right now in the church. And so yeah, and along with that, the idea of holding firmly to the word of life and uncompromising devotion to Scripture in the face of pressures that would challenge that, and voices that would scoff at it. Just like there was in Philippi, I think we have those same pressures here. So, yeah, I mean, that's for me. It's been very timely, and I think the themes are really relevant for where the church is at right now in the world.
I'm thinking about unity and connecting it to Classis some. I'm thinking about Appleton, and you guys are kind of on an island in terms of the Classis down in Kenosha. They're close with Racine. Here in Oostburg, we've got the Sheboygan churches, 3 Sheboygan churches, pretty close to us. In Madison, there's 2 churches in Madison. Waupun, Randolph area, churches together. Milwaukee and Brookfield are maybe not so close, but close enough. And but up north there, you guys are somewhat on your own. Do you feel like you get support from the Classis in a different kind of way, or need support from the Classis in a different kind of way, or what's your sense of connection, unity with the Classis, being sort of alone to a degree?
Right. Yeah, I do think that there's a greater need for connection to Classis at our church than there probably is in others. I do think that one of the most helpful things and one of the greatest blessings to me personally has been that the formation of the pastor peer groups, which I don't know how long was that, a couple years now, 2 or 3 years that that's been going on. I think that was a really vitally important and a really healthy change because it provided more opportunities to connect with fellow pastors and colleagues within Classis on a more regular basis, more frequently than just the Classis meetings, and so and at a just a different level with a smaller group of people, and so I think that's been really important, probably more important for me than maybe for some of the others who are able to connect with their peers and colleagues more regularly, being closer to other Christian Reformed churches. So
Yeah.
for me, that's been I think a really significant and helpful and healthy change that the Classis has made, and it's been definitely a change for the better. So yeah, because I mean, aside from that, you're right. There is it is a little bit lonely. It is kind of like an island, and I don't have a good connection with the ministerial fellowship in Appleton area, the Fox Cities area. I think when I first came here 15 years ago, I was part of that group for like first 5 years maybe, and I just think that the ecclesiastical net is a little bit too wide, and it's just there's not really great fellowship, I guess. I mean, there's not. It's just a little bit generic and bland, and it kind of ended up feeling like not a fruitful use of my time. And so to have that time, little more time with fellow pastors from Classis, Wisconsin is a great blessing to me.
Mark, last thing, how can we be praying for you and your church?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. We are in a couple of concrete, specific things. We're in the midst of searching for an associate pastor, and so we're just kind of beginning I shouldn't say beginning the process. We've been in the process for a while, but it's been a lot of prayer and discernment and trying to do the initial upfront legwork of deciding and discerning what we want and need for this position.
Yeah.
And so now after that, we're kind of now at the point of beginning to we did the job description and financial details, and so now we're going to start a search committee and get the actual search process started. So just we would really treasure prayers for God's wisdom and discernment and guidance throughout that process, and just that I mean, it's a significant step of faith. There's budgetary implications, and it will stretch us a bit, and so there's a lot wrapped up into it. And just pray that we will be faithful, and that God would provide, that this is good for His kingdom and for us as a church, and would bring Him glory. That He would provide the right person, and that our church would see and really get behind the cause and see the need for it, and be on board with it. So it's kind of an exciting time, but also challenging, and so we would really appreciate prayers for God's provision, and prayers for wisdom, and prayers for just support and kind of a smoothness, I guess, for a smooth journey as we pursue that staff position. So that's one big thing. I'd also say, I think like a lot of churches, we're still, and I think last year 2020 was challenging, and kind of brought out some again, differences of opinion and different perspectives, and sort of polarizing tendencies around things that are not central to the gospel. So just an ongoing prayer, I guess, for unity and groundedness in the gospel, and being firmly planted in the word of life. That'd be great.
Well, thanks for your time, Mark. I appreciate it. We'll be praying for you.
Yeah, thank you, Zach.